sure it's there. A very good evening, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH 286, Patricia and David, and it is the 24th of July. And not a very pleasant day here. I'm sure the group of boats, all 7 of them, or 8 of them, that left today will be very pleased to leave the winter weather behind them. Currently, we have about 8 to 10 knots from the west with a bit of south in it. 1017.3 on the bar, 15 degrees, which I suppose isn't too bad considering the rest of the country, and 75% cloud cover. So there was in fact quite a few boats left today, so I'll talk about those shortly. David, after I've called in the boats, David will give a roundup of the weather. He seems to be a bit more cheerful about it tonight, so we'll wait and see what he has to say. But we've got Renard 4 in Port Resolution with about half a dozen boats there, quite a lot of British boats in Port Resolution. It's always good when a few arrive at once because they'll be doing trips up the mountain. Haven't actually looked at the cloud cover around Port Resolution, but hopefully it will be a decent night tonight or tomorrow for them to all go up and have a look at the lovely red bubbling volcano. Rubicon and Narida arrived in Vava'u this morning, so they'll be quite happy and looking forward to a good night's sleep. So let's go to Donella, Gulf Harbour. Nothing heard from Donella, and he's not on AIS, so I can't tell you where he is, but this morning he had 55 miles to go. So he'll be getting quite close and looking forward to coming in. Okay, who have we got now? Well, Windshift took off first this morning and all is well on board. I have their Garmin report. Good evening to you both. They don't have a radio that tunes into this frequency, which reminds me to talk to them down in Wellington and see if I can get one that does in fact talk to the codon radios. Quite a few Australians have those. But anyway, good evening to you. We've got an email in from Picasso, who doesn't have a single sideband on board, and it sounds like everyone will be quite happy with the departure. They've got pretty flat seas, about half a metre. They're heading north. The wind is sort of in the mid-teens with gusts up into the low 20s and lulls into single digits, so it's sort of a bit up and down. About southeast, 144 degrees from their direction, and they're averaging about 7 knots. They're just taking it slow with their new boat, so thanks for that report. And let's go to let's have a look at further south. I'll tell you where the boats are. There's some left from Opua, and there's Kotanui, Picasso with they've just passed Windshift. And we've got further down Pantaray and Soy Libra, and then leaving from Marsden was Tuatara, and also there's a boat behind them, Titai Nui. So I'll go to Tuatara, Gulf Harbour Radio. Well, I'm not having much luck tonight. They might not be into the process of check-ins and things at the moment. Let's go to Kotanui, Gulf Harbour. Well, I might as well give the radio to David, the microphone to David.
Right.
So that's actually quite good to have a look at what the weather's doing anyway. Here he is.
Well, okay, good evening, everybody out there. And I think what I'm going to do is just give an overview first as to what's going on in the Southwest Pacific, just to give you the big picture for those that don't know about it, but those who would like to know about it. So we'll start off with looking at the big high, 1027, 1028 high. It's smack in the middle of the Tasman. It's between New Zealand and Australia. In fact, the center of it is pretty much over Lord Howe Island. So it ridges east just to the north of Raoul Island and continues east just a little bit past that, probably to about 173 west. Then we've got a lot of activity further north. We have a trough that runs from basically the upper Coral Sea, runs southeast to, well, just between Vanuatu and New Caledonia, probably brushes Anisham in the process. Quite a bit of cloud and rain, squalls associated with this trough. The other trough, very, very active, shows up quite well on satellite imagery, and that one runs from the Solomon Islands right up through Tuvalu, and then it goes by Tokelau, and it goes on to the northern Cooks, and then continues on to the east-southeast. And the other one that we see on satellite imagery is a trough that is just to the southwest of Fiji, not very far to the southwest of it. In fact, the end of it is about we'll call it 17 south and about 173 east. So it runs southeast. So the axis is just south of Kendavu, but the cloud and whatnot is covering about half of Fiji, if you will. And it continues on through the lower parts of Tonga and off to the southeast from there. So I think what I'm going to do now is to give you the Fiji forecast. We have quite a few people from or in the Fiji area that we've been in contact with. And so this is what Fiji Met has got to say what is going on. And they're quite bold about this. A damaging heavy swell alert is now in force for all open waters of Kendavu and southern Laos. Strong wind warning remains in force for Kendavu, Vatuira Pass, Yasawa, the Mamanukas, and northern Vanuatu waters, and is now in force for the rest of Fiji waters. The situation as they see it, a trough of low pressure lies slow moving to the west of Fiji, and I'll pause for my own remarks. This is what I just mentioned to you that I'm seeing quite vividly on satellite imagery. They go on to say the associated cloud and rain expected to affect the country from later tomorrow till Friday. Meanwhile, a high pressure system to the far southwest of Fiji, now that's the one that's over Lord Howe Island, that's expected to generate and direct moderate to heavy swells over the southern waters of Fiji. So the forecast to 6 p.m. tomorrow for Fiji waters. Open waters of Kendavu and southern Laos expect heavy, damaging swells, heights up to 4 meters from tomorrow. For Kendavu and Vatuira Pass, Yasawas, Mamanukas, and northern Vanuatu waters, east to southeast winds 20 to 25 knots. Winds gradually turning and becoming northeast to southerly and increasing to 30 knots from tomorrow afternoon. Rough seas, and seas becoming rough to very rough from tomorrow afternoon. And the further outlook for all of that is northeast to southerly winds 20 to 30 knots, rough to very rough seas. And then for the rest of Fiji waters, east to southeast winds 15 to 20, winds gradually turning and becoming northeast to southerly and increasing to 30 knots from tomorrow afternoon. And moderate to rough seas, seas becoming rough to very rough from tomorrow afternoon. And the further outlook, northeast to southerly winds 20 to 30 knots, rough to very rough seas. And that's the end of that. Now, they are definitely covering all their bases. Looking at, I would say, in the next day to day and a half, the polar dip that we've been talking about is quite evident, uh, and it is roughly just to the south. The axis of it is pretty well. It runs right through the Lao, pretty much right through the Lao. In fact, we'll call it the date line. That would be the axis of the polar dip. And from there, things develop. Wait one. Okay, so looking at Friday, jumping a couple of days now, we're getting closer to the weekend. Friday at about 5 o'clock, I'm looking at sort of the big picture. I'll get into details in a second for the Tonga area. But from that polar dip, the tropical depression does, in fact, form. Doesn't appear to have a name, and I don't think it will have a name because while it's aggressive, it's not that strong to earn the name, if you will. But anyway, it looks like the center of it is going to be located just to the southeast of Nuku'alofa, and I would call it, if I had to give a center, I'd call it about 24 south and 174 west, and it has got two circular isobars around it at this point. So anyway, looking at the Tonga area, and I'll continue with Friday, the models are continuing to confirm what we've been talking about. There's air mass convergence for Tongatapu, and we're seeing northwest winds converging with northeast winds. And as I said, the low forms just to the south-southeast of Tongatapu. So the winds, I would say, would be about 15 to 25 knots mid-morning, and by lunch, well, they'll become westerlies to about 30 knots. Expect cloud, rain, and squalls. The seas, by the way, just to the south of Tongatapu, are projected to be 5 meters. 5 meters. Now, Niafu, look at the morning in Niafu. I would expect northerlies at that time, but still a chance for easterlies. The models are in disagreement there. Now, just so you know, I'm looking at EC, I'm looking at GFS, I'm looking at Access, I'm looking at UK Met, and I'm also looking at the upper levels. But more important are all the surface models. So at that time, they're really not in agreement. So moving on, at around 5 p.m. on Friday, and this is Niafu, westerlies, it would appear. We'll call it westerlies anyhow, and they're to 30 knots and more under active thunderstorms. And actually, to the northeast of Niafu, we talk about active thunderstorms. It is absolutely unbelievable what we're seeing in lightning strike projections and whatnot. It's a huge area and very, very active. And if you were to look at Niue as an example, they are going to get hammered big time with the system. Even though the center is not near Niue or Tonga, it is going to provide closed isobars, narrowing isobars, and with that compression, we're going to see quite a bit of wind. So, yeah, active thunderstorms, okay. Then, Saturday, now we're getting some agreement on the models. This is oddly enough, they're not in agreement on Friday, but they seem to be in agreement on Saturday. So it looks like we're going to have southwest winds, and that will be from Tongatapu. It'll include the Hapais and also Niafu. So looks like 20 to 25 knots, gusting 30 to 35, and there's going to be scattered showers, squalls, that sort of thing. Broken clouds for most of the day, but I'm looking at modeling for clouds, and it appears to be more buildups later in the day and into Sunday morning. And that depression is projected to be, this is Saturday or Sunday morning, that it's projected to be at 25 south and 172 west. So it will have moved to the southeast, and we're very happy to hear that, not only for all of you in the Tonga and Niue area, but those of you that have left New Zealand heading up to Fiji for the most part, it would appear. So the big worry that I had is that things could change. They have in the past, and that depression could have possibly gone off to the southwest. Not too common for that to happen, but it has happened. But the models now, and the four of them, seem to be in agreement that this system is going to move off to the southeast. And it also would appear that the winds in the Tonga area, between Tongatapu and Niafu, the whole chain, it appears that they are, while strong, are not going to be as strong as what the models were projecting yesterday. And if you'll remember, how I talk about models are ideas. Well, yep, that was an idea that was a little bit aggressive, and now they're changing their minds. A little bit less wind, but still fresh to strong, and you still have to take care, because in these thunderstorms, as all of you who have been cruising know what gusts are like in these active thunderstorms. So anyhow, and also for the boats in Minerva, if any, they are going to have by then southerly winds that are going to be 35 and maybe even 40 knots in Minerva. And that strong wind carries all the way up looking at Friday, those strong winds are all the way up to Kandavu and western Viti Levu. By Sunday, it would appear that things are going to be in far better shape for those that are nearing Fiji. Winds are going to be basically 25, 28 knots out of the south. Now those seas, for those people, we're looking at, let's see here, if I can get my computer to work when it wants to, 3.5 to 4 meters. 3.5 to 4 meters. So with 30 knots and 3.5 to 4 meters, even though it's behind you, it's going to be some interesting rides down those hills and then up and then back down in those valleys. So anyhow, that's the story as we see it now. So what happens between now and when I talk to you tomorrow, things can possibly be different. Never know. So we'll be back tomorrow with the update on the weather for this area. So with that, then, I will pass it on to the chief. And yes, here she is.
Oh, I do like being called the chief. It doesn't happen very often, and it doesn't happen outside the radio room, to be honest. All right, we have any questions, or do we have any of the boats that we were trying to find at the radio now? Please call. Ah, hello, Soy Libre. Yeah, I've been looking at you heading north there. Go ahead, over. I don't know what's happening to Soy Libre. Yeah, Soy Libre, there is a problem with your radio. You are not on frequency, well, not that I can copy. There is a problem, so I'll just see if anybody copies Soy Libre. I would like to have a relay if anyone's copying them. They are close to me and probably too close for 8752, but can anybody copy Soy Libre? Oh, good. So I'm not sure who that was, but could you go ahead, please?
Wind speed is 15 knots from the southwest, with 4-foot swell from the southwest. Your metric pressure is 1019.
Okay, I did copy that. I put on a preamp and pulled you out of the noise there. So Soy Libre is at 3451 south and 17413 east. I will get you better the further away you go. And I think the course was about 349 magnetic. I can check that with the AIS because it was only a quarter of an hour ago. 4.5 knots, that totals with the AIS, so that's good. All systems are good at the moment, so everything's working well there. And I'm just checking the course. Oh, it says there 04 is the course, so I might get you to clarify that one. Anyway, the 4-foot swell from the southwest and 15 knots from the southwest, 1019 on the bar. So can you just clarify your course, please? Over.
Yes, my course is 349 magnetic.
Okay, I did hear it right the first time. 349 magnetic. Okay, well, you're off and away, so I bet you're pleased to finally leave, and in good company there. So they will give you a good challenge to keep up with them, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow. How many on board? Over. Just Andy. Okay, right. Well, we'll
Fiji.
presume you're going to Fiji. Is that correct?
I'm headed to Minerva.
Okay, headed to Minerva. Well, you'll be interested in what goes on with that low. So we'll, with your speed, how many days will it take you to get to Minerva, going pretty much as you are? Over.
6 to 7 days.
Okay, we'll look at 6 to 7 days, and yep, David will be talking about what's happening every night, so you'll be able to keep abreast of what's going on there, and just make adjustments as need be. All right, well, looks like everything is going well on Soy Libre, and I presume you're probably in touch with the other folk that left with you, so we'll talk to you again tomorrow night. Over.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Dave, for your weather forecast.
Oh, no problem. It's boy, it's sort of interesting at the moment, but I'm glad all you folk have left today, because it was getting late in the season and I want to go on holiday in a month. So it will be good that everybody is finally up in the islands. Okay, we'll clear with Soy Libre. Was there anybody else that can copy me?
Rubicon.
Oh, hello, Matt, and good to hear you. Yeah, it's always frustrating for me with the people that are a little bit too close for good copy. So you're settled into Niafu now. Over.
Yeah, roger that. And happy to be here. I think even though conditions look like they've settled somewhat, it's just nice to be up here. We had a good trip. Lots of lures, and but saw a ton of whales, and it was just nice to be out. And so for whatever reason, we're here, and we're going to make the most of it, okay?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, the wildlife sounds fantastic. Yeah, it's a bit annoying when somebody takes an expensive lure, but That's why we got into sort of making our own out of cereal packets and stuff like that. Because we found that if they were there, they would go for anything. I haven't heard from Christian. He was on air this morning with 55 to go. And I was... do you remember seeing... this will test your powers of observation. Does he have a radar on Donella? Over?
Oh, wow. I don't remember seeing a radar. You know, nowadays you kind of don't look for them, okay?
No, that's correct. But I tell you what, Vavau is one of the very few places that Chameleon goes into at night time. But it's so easy with the radar because when you're coming in at the top there, you've got that big sort of range of hills, really. So you can just sort of line yourself up to come down the channel in the dark. Although there's a nice big moon at the moment, isn't there? And anchor on the right there somewhere. But I just wondered if what he was planning to do, because he might even be getting close, but it seemed that he was he wasn't doing, he was doing quite well this morning, but he was certainly pushing it, getting in there in daylight. So anyway, hopefully he'll get in and get some rest tonight. Over.
Yeah, roger that. We've watched for him, but we haven't seen him, so I'm not sure. And haven't heard from him, so can't help there, sorry.
Yeah, all right. Well, you and Elizabeth have a good night, and thanks for coming up. Would you mind just giving a call for any boats on passage that cannot copy Gulf Harbour, because there's a few of them there that took off today, but you know what it's like, you're finding your sea legs, but just in case they want to give a call, could you give them a call, please, Matt? Over.
Yeah, roger that. So this is Rubicon for Gulf Harbour Radio. Any vessel that can offer you Rubicon for Gulf Harbour Radio. Come now, okay? Nothing heard there, Patricia.
Okay, but thanks for the try. All right, well, we'll give them all another go tomorrow night. They're sort of separating out quite well, and there's a couple coming from Marsden as well. So hopefully conditions will remain as described by, who was it? God, brain's not going too well at the moment. Anyway, that's all good. I'll make a final call before we shut it down, and then the frequency will be yours if you need it, anybody. No, leave you all in peace. Thanks for being there, and we will talk to you again tomorrow. Oh, hang on a minute. There is Kotanui checking in. Oh, this shows you the changes in technology, folks. Here's Kotanui checking in on streaming. Well. They are at 34 degrees 43 south and 174 east. Thank you, Mike. And they're doing 8 knots heading north. Well, times have changed, haven't they? When all we had was the good old radio to talk to people. All right. Well, that just shows that at that position, the Starlink is certainly working well. So good evening to Mike and Renee, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Cheers, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio Clear.
They're near Soy Libre.
Soy Libre, yeah, and here's Soy Libre.